Hi, everybody. This is Brett Lonsdale from Lightning Tools. First of all, just want to say thank you very much for joining this afternoon. So this afternoon, at least here in the UK anyway. Today we're going to be talking about the Lightning Tools Form Designer Suite. So we've got several products that we're going to be walking through today with some new announcements as well about the products. So new features that will be made available in the next coming days. So if you're already a customer of Lightning Tools or Lightning Tools Actions, you'll be able to take advantage of some of those new features very, very shortly. For anybody that is new to the product, then yeah, hopefully you're going to be able to see what the product can do for you and for your organization as well. So before we get into all of that, I'm just going to do a very brief introduction to Lightning Tools, just so you know a little bit about our background and who we are. But we've got a lot of demonstrations to get through today within the hour. So I'll keep that short. We'll jump into the demonstrations as a few slides just to introduce each topic. And we'll also be open to some questions and answers at the end of the webinar as well. So if you do have questions that come to mind throughout the webinar, please drop them in the chat window or in the Q&A panel. Either of those two places will be fine. And either I will read them out and answer them at the end of the webinar, or I know Sandy's on the call as well. She may go through and answer some of your questions whilst I'm speaking. So yeah, first of all, that intro to Lightning Tools. So the company Lightning Tools was founded by myself and somebody else around about 2007. So we built the company with the idea to extend what we can do with Microsoft SharePoint out of the box. And of course, this was back then using SharePoint 2007. So we enhanced different areas of Microsoft SharePoint with our permissions tool, with also content aggregation and some data integration tools and so on as well. All of these we do today. We're also of course, doing them not just in SharePoint on premises, but in SharePoint Online and also through Microsoft Teams as well. So we've been operating since 2007 as a Microsoft Gold partner. We're also an ISO certified company as well in terms of ISO 9001, which is the quality certification, and also the information management security qualification, which is ISO 27001. So in terms of the products that we're going to be talking about today, you can see our mainstream products on the slide here. We're going to be, of course, looking at the list form design. So the product they will be exploring is called Lightning Forms. So we'll be using Lightning Forms within SharePoint so that we can build out what is just a standard SharePoint list and make that more of a business form to incorporate improved layouts, also different tab controls, and add some logic and intelligence to those forms as well, and also combine multiple forms for sort of master detail or one-to-many type scenarios, things like expense report and expense items and things like that. So we'll be getting into the list form design. We've also got Lightning Tools Actions, which is an action builder that you can use at the SharePoint list level, so you can go through and create buttons on the command bar within a list and perform actions across multiple selected items. So we'll be getting into that as well today, and there's some announcements around that which you'll see which extend that capability even further. We're also going to be using the document generator, which is a product that can work with both the Lightning Forms as well as the Lightning Tools Actions. So we can use that to generate a Word document. So if you think about a form that you may have created, such as a purchase order form, we may not want to invite everybody into our tenant, such as guest accounts, in order to be able to view purchase orders that have been raised. Maybe suppliers would actually be better off having a physical document that they could, of course, store or print and process and so on. So the idea being is that we can take a list item, generate a document from that list item with all of the fields, so it becomes almost like a mail merge type scenario, and then we can share that document with them, or we could store the document ourselves, or make a document that is nicer to print and keep a permanent copy of. And we're also going to be actually kicking off the demonstrations with the Kudzu Form Migrator. So if you're in the situation where you've got legacy forms, which may be things like the upcoming deprecated InfoPath forms, so if you have got InfoPath forms, or you've got maybe PDF forms, which can be a bit of a challenge. I know I received one just yesterday that I had to go and print and fill out by hand, sign it by hand, scan it, and then attach it to an email. If you're in that scenario and you wish to have more sort of electronic type forms that can be completed with inside a SharePoint list, and therefore collecting that information directly into the list, we can migrate those over just from the PDF itself, or even from an image of a form, and yeah, also Excel forms and things like that too. But there's also a new feature of the Kudzu Form Migrator, and that is the Kudzu AI bot, which we can actually use to create new forms with Lightning Forms. But the Kudzu bot actually allows us to ask a simple question in order to be able to build a form. So we could, for example, ask it to build us an expense claim form or a purchase order form. We can request certain fields or sections to be included on that form, and it will go through and create the underlying lists within inside of SharePoint, as well as all of the columns and so on that we require as well. So hopefully this is okay. I think my internet dropped for a very brief second there. But yeah, we're going to get through the demo of the migrator, and you'll be able to see that in action as well. So the other products, just in case you're interested, there's lots of information on our website about them. We have Deliver Point, which is our permissions tool. Also the content aggregation tool as well, known as the Lightning Conductor. And we've also got a discussion board and the data viewer as well, which completes our portfolio. So the products, as I mentioned, that we're going to get into today will help us migrate those legacy forms. We'll also be able to generate new forms using the AI bot. We'll be able to customize existing forms using Lightning Forms, and that helps when we're comparing it with other tools like Power Apps and so on to get up to speed quickly. There's less learning curve. You're integrated into the SharePoint environment, and we'll also have a look at that automation side as well using the Lightning Tools actions before finishing off with the document generator. So each of these products, the only one that relies on other tools is the document generator. The document generator can be packaged with the Lightning Forms or also with Lightning Tools actions, but Kudzu Form Migrator, Lightning Tools actions, and Lightning Forms are available independently, but you can also acquire these as the entire suite as well. So as I mentioned, we're going to start off with the Kudzu Form Migrator. So we'll spend just a few minutes there, have a look at how we can build out a new SharePoint list using the Kudzu bot, and I'll also walk through how we can also migrate some of the different forms from things like InfoPath. And also just to mention that it's not just the form design that we can migrate over, you can also migrate data as well. So if you're working with something like a InfoPath form that's been published to a form library, and that form library contains hundreds of thousands of completed forms, effectively we could also migrate that content over to SharePoint list content and have the same form design, albeit more modern and responsive with inside of SharePoint Online. Yeah, our first demonstration is actually going to be Christmas themed. In fact, all of our demonstrations are going to be Christmas themed since we're only just a short time away now from Christmas. So what we're going to do is build a Christmas tree order form using the Kudzu bot. So I'm going to drop my camera so you can see more of the screen, and let's bring up my SharePoint environment here. So here inside Kudzu, you'll notice that we've got first of all, the form wizard, and it's the form wizard that we can use to read in different designs from other types of forms. So those other types of forms may be, as I mentioned, things like InfoPath forms and so on. You can see the complete list here. So PDFs, InfoPath forms, just an image of a form, or Excel forms and so on, can all be migrated across to a SharePoint list form. So I'm going to take an InfoPath form as an example, and you'll notice that I have two choices here. One of the choices is to just simply upload the XSN file, the form design. Of course, we're not going to get the data migrated that way, or we can select it from SharePoint. So if we have a connection to a SharePoint form library that contains the form design as the template and also the content, we can just direct it there, and it'll be able to read in that form design from that. So I have an XSN file that I'm going to be working with here. So we've got a couple, in fact. I'm just going to take this one here, the employment application, and show you that once we've selected that InfoPath XSN file, that we can go through selecting next, and it will read in that form design. So I'm just going to overwrite that because I've done that one before. And you'll notice in here, it's successfully or 100% successfully read the views. It's 100% successfully read all the fields appropriately, and also any rules as well. So any validation rules or anything like that will also get read, and you'll be able to, of course, address any issues that may be errors or anything that has perhaps been created using backend code or something like that inside the InfoPath form that can't be migrated. But Kudzu will tell you about that. You can actually click onto any of these warnings or errors to see what's not going to be migrated as well, and what you may have to do manually. So if I hit preview, you'll see that the XSN file itself has been read. It's got the logo coming through, the title, and there's a mixture of different column widths. So we go from 1 column to 3 columns to 2 columns and so on. And there's also different repeating sections as well that would also be taken care of using Kudzu. So that's one example, and then we could push that out to SharePoint. We can just step this through and select Lightning Forms as the output, and basically write that out. And you're going to see the sort of end result of that one with my next demo of how we can write out from Kudzu as well. So for the demo, I'm going to actually use the Kudzu bot. So this is where we can use the AI engine in order to be able to ask it to build a certain form. So this cuts out all of that sort of brainstorming time of thinking what fields we might want to need or might want to have on the form itself. And it also takes the time away from going through manually creating SharePoint lists, also creating all of the different columns as well with inside those SharePoint lists, and then of course building your form afterwards. So with this example, I'm going to ask for it something fairly obscure. We're going to have a Christmas tree order form. So I'll be polite. Please create me a Christmas tree order form, and I can give it certain information that I want to include. So I'm going to say include a delivery address section. Okay, so we'll see what it comes up with. So we'll hit go, and we get that intermediate phase where it's going to generate the form model within Kudzu prior to it pushing it out to SharePoint, so that we can actually make any changes that we want to make before it actually goes to SharePoint. So you can see here we've got the suggested form. It's got a preview of the form here on the right hand side, so I can see what the layout is going to be like, and I can even test the form if I want to. But over on the left hand side, I can reimagine that form as well. So if there's certain fields that I don't necessarily need to have, I can delete them just by hitting the little trash can icon here. But we can also get in and change the properties. We can move these fields around and so on as well, in order to be able to get the form that we want, and then we can push that out to SharePoint. So yeah, you'll notice on the form we've got the order date, we've got an order number, we've got the order type. So we could choose here with a fresh cut tree, a live tree, or an artificial tree. And then we've also got things like the recipient information. It's already populated things like the states that we can choose from for the delivery information. We've got the tree type, so we can choose whether we want a Scotch pine, a white pine, and so on. And all this has come from the AI engine, not from me. And then we've got also optional extras such as tree lights and tree ornaments and things like that. Oh, and your topper, of course, as well. Never put a snowman on top of my Christmas tree. Maybe we'll have to change that. Yeah, if I'm satisfied with this, I can hit go. And again, we can specify the output. So let's just close this down, and we'll sort by the date created. So there's my Christmas tree order form as an application that I can now deploy out to SharePoint. So I'm going to write this out, select the writer, which is Lightning Forms, and I'm going to choose a connection. So hopefully my connection from yesterday is still there. If not, we can recreate it. I'll recreate it anyway. I'm just going to hit new connection in here, and I'm going to deploy it to this SharePoint site here. So I've got the Christmas 2023 SharePoint site. So I'm going to drop the URL in and just give that a name. So we'll just call that Christmas 2023. and we're going to authenticate using integrated authentication. I'm just going to test that. So we can see the site, we can authenticate. So now I can hit save and then hit go. So that is now connected to SharePoint. You can see it's generating the lists, and now it's going to go through and deploy the form as well with inside that site. So we just give that a moment. Okay, so it says it was 100% successful. We have a link here, so we can open it up. And so there's our list. We've got all of the columns created within the view. And so what I'm going to do is just pop into Lightning Forms and have a look at the design experience. So we'll hit the ellipsis here. Let's just give that a moment. There we go. So we'll go into Lightning Forms, and you can see we've got the three forms: the new form, the edit form, and the display form. And when I hit the customize button on that, it's going to show me that form design that it created. And hopefully this is going to look just like it did inside of Kudzu, which is what you would expect if you were also migrating from InfoPath or a PDF form or something like that as well. So you can see we've got those two columns. It will have populated the choices. So there's our choices that we saw inside of Kudzu. We've got the calendar controls and things like that. So of course, we're now in Lightning Forms, so I can add more logic to the form. I can add styling, I can create action buttons, I could change the layout further if I want to, and so on. But for this one, we're just going to hit save and close. And just give that a quick refresh. And now we'll hit new. And there's our modern side panel with our form ready to go. So of course we can go through and complete this and populate it as we want to before saving the item. Okay, so that's how we can use Kudzu, not just for migrating forms, but also for saving a lot of time in the form creation as well, using the Kudzu bot. So we're going to move forward onto Lightning Forms. So with Lightning Forms, we're not going to further customize that one. We're actually going to work with another sort of Christmas theme, which is a Christmas wish list for children to complete. So of course, in the previous webinars, we've done things like purchase order forms and expense claim forms and things like that, but we'll make this a bit more Christmassy themed. So what we're going to do is use Lightning Forms to change the layout of the form. We're going to add different tabs to organize the form and control access to different parts of the form as well. We're going to add some logic in terms of action buttons, form load actions as well. And we could optionally also extend the form using JavaScript, although most of the time you don't need to. It's got a nice friendly expression builder that we can use. You'll be able to experience that in just a moment. And we can also go through and apply styling, conditional formatting and things like that as well to give visual clues as to what you're maybe doing wrong when you're completing the form or of course doing right as well. And then finally, we've got the actions that we can also configure, which can be buttons and form load actions and so on too. So I've already created one list, which I'm going to show you just to save a bit of time, but there's no customizations in it yet. It's completely out of the box. So we're going to open that up. So it's here called the child wish list. And it's a custom list. When we hit new, you'll see the fields that I created. And as I started to create this form, I realized that there was a bit of a challenge, which you typically face when you're building out lists with inside of SharePoint. And that is that children want more than one gift for Christmas. They may want 10 different gifts from Santa Claus, at least my children do anyway. So what we don't want to do on any type of form is to have the sort of gift 1, gift 2, gift 3 type fields. Ideally, we want a repeating section. Otherwise, we're just creating numerous fields, and it's very difficult to actually query that in order to be able to get any information out of it. So we are going to create another list as well. So we'll just jump out of this one first of all and go back onto the home page of my site. And the other list that we're going to create is actually from one of the new Microsoft SharePoint templates. So when we hit new list, there's all sorts of list templates that Microsoft are creating. And one of those is actually a gift ideas list, which is very close to what I want. So when we go through and select that one, you'll see that we've got the gift name, we've got a price of that gift, who the recipient is, the occasion, and then we've also got a link to it and whether it was purchased or not. So most of those fields are fine. So I'm going to hit use template. I'll stick with the name gift ideas. And we just customize this a little bit because there's some unwanted fields in there. The recipient is going to be the child anyway. So what we can do is delete that column. So let's just go through and remove it. And the occasion we can change in here as well. So I'm just going to edit the column there. Let's get rid of some of those and add Christmas as a choice. And I'm going to leave birthday in there as well, just so we can reuse this. Okay, so we've got the columns that we want, but I don't want to go to two different lists to fill those out. So what we're going to do is embed that gift ideas list onto the child wish list form. So we'll go back into Lightning Forms and customize our new form here. Now, once we've customized the layout of the new form, we're going to be able to export that design out so that we can then import that design into the edit form and the display form as well, cutting out a whole load of development time with inside those forms. So here in the design experience, you'll notice that we're within SharePoint still. We can use this contextual designer to move the fields around, so we can position those where we want them to appear. We can also add logic behind the different properties. So as we click the parentheses against each field, you'll notice that we can create calculations, we can add validation to those fields. We can also control when they're visible or when they're enabled as well, so that we can somewhat sort of control access to some of the fields as well. So in order to lay this out, one of the first things I'm going to do is to increase the size of the panel. The side panel that opens up is, of course, only taking up like a quarter of the page, and that means 3/4 of the page whilst I'm filling that form out is useless. So I'm going to make this a large panel, but it still retains its responsive behavior. So even if I was accessing this on a tablet or a small screen, it's still going to adapt to that screen, even though I've made it a large one initially. So we'll go with the large form layout. And we're also going to add a new section to our form as well. So I'm going to add a one column section at the top here, and we're going to create a rich text area at the top of the form to give a title to the form. So we're going to have Christmas wish list. And we'll put for child. And child is the field called child on my form. So we don't have to sort of go hunting for these fields in different tabs and so on when we're trying to see which child this Christmas wish list is for. So I'm just going to highlight that, make that a heading, center that on the page, and this value will come through dynamically once the child field has been populated. Okay, so we've got our heading at the top. We're going to leave the wish list ID at the very top, and then underneath that, we're going to add some tabbed controls. So we'll go through and put some tabs on. We're going to have a child tab for the child to fill in, and I think we've got a little face. There we go. So that's representing our child, and then we're going to just add another one as well, which is going to be parent. So the parent has to screen the Christmas wish list before it goes, of course, to Santa Claus. So let's just add a person in here, and it's got a check mark so that they can do some approval as well. So there's the two tabs. Now, we don't want the child to come into the parent tab because if they do that, they're going to be able to approve their own Christmas wish list. So under the enabled property we could go into the expression builder and add a condition as to when this tab would be enabled. So what we can do is either pick a certain field, like if they were good, if their behavior was good, maybe we could enable the field on that basis. But I'm going to enable it based on who the user is and whether the user is a member of a certain group. So this could be a parent group that you've created, or I'm going to use an Azure Active Directory security group that we have called approvers. So I'm going to stick that in there, and that way, if the person is inside the approvers AD group, they will be able to access that tab, otherwise they won't. Okay, so now we can safely position some of these fields in, like the child's behavior and whether this has been approved or not. So under that parent tab, let's just go into the row configuration and we'll split it out to 2 columns. We've got more space now, being a wider form, and we can drag that approved field into the parent tab and do the same thing here with the behavior, which is whether the child has been good or bad throughout the year. Okay, so we've created that, and then the other fields we could also then position maybe in 2 columns. So we've got the child name, their age, their address, the treats for Santa that they want to maybe leave on the mantelpiece for when he comes down the chimney and so on. And then we've also got the total number of gifts ordered as well. I'll leave that there so you can see that calculation. But one other piece of information that we thought of is maybe also telling Santa who their favorite reindeer is. Now, I've got a list of reindeer in a different site. It's not in the Christmas site. It's in this reindeer site here, and we can see all the different reindeer and their characteristics. So ideally, I want to look up from that one, but with SharePoint lists, you can't. They can only look up from the current site. So Lightning Forms actually has its own data lookup control that allows you to look up across sites. So I'm going to paste in the URL to the reindeer site. And now we can go through and choose the reindeer names list. We can choose our display column as well, which is going to be the title. That is the column containing the reindeer name. But if we make this also an enhanced lookup, we can also have other columns included in the list. So maybe they want to choose the reindeer based on the characteristics of the reindeer as well. So they need to see both the name as well as the other field containing the characteristics. And we can also choose which columns we want to be able to search on as well. So they can start typing in the first few characters of maybe one of the reindeer names and then find the one that they're looking for, which is very useful when you've got maybe hundreds of rows and so on as well that you're looking up from. Okay, so we just give that a name. And I think I just need to call that reindeer name. There we go. As well, okay that. And now you'll see that we've also got that lookup going on as well. So we can either scroll through or we can start typing and choose the value that we're looking for. Okay, so we've got those fields on there. Now, underneath the total number of gifts, we're now going to embed those gift ideas. So as well as adding columns onto the form and the data lookup and the tabs, etc., we can also add other lists onto the form. So we've got the gift ideas that we created. So I can go through and choose the gift ideas list. That gets embedded. We can relate it to the master list using a lookup column as we treat it as a sub-item of the parent list. And when we're doing that, we need a lookup column to tie the two together. So it's effectively creating a join between the two lists using a lookup column. So I don't have one, so I can create one. So we're getting a field here called lookup to child wish list, which is fine. I've got an option to cascade delete as well. So if we decide to delete the child's wish list, which would be quite mean, the gifts would also be deleted as well that are related. So we'll do that. So I'm going to check that option, and we'll hit save. And you'll notice that now on the form, we've got our gift ideas as well. So the child can fill out this section, come down to all their gift ideas, and then submit it. So on the submission, at the moment, they've only got a save button or a cancel button. So we need to inform the parent that it's actually been submitted, otherwise they won't know. So what we're now going to do is just come into the command bar where we've got our save and cancel button. I'm just going to add another button in here called submit wish list. And again, we can choose an icon for that. We could hide the button from certain people. That's okay. I'm just going to allow the children to submit this. And then under the configure actions is where we can actually go through and create the notification out to the parents. So this is where we're getting into an action builder where we can start to define some of the different actions that we want to create here. They can be quite complex. We've got conditions and we've got loops and things like that. So if I just drag a condition across, you'll notice that we've got a condition with a if yes, if no. So it might be that something has to be set before they can submit it, like their behavior. But I'm just going to go with a straightforward one. So we're going to save the form first of all, and then I'm going to send an email. That's going to be the notification to the parent. So this is going to be sent from the current user. So I can go into the contextual objects again, and under the user, we can select the user's email. So that'd be the child's email. And then who it's going to go to, I'm actually just going to hard code that with brett@lightningtools.com. There we go. So we'll have a new wish list created. And in the body, I can just say, I have created my Christmas wish list. Now, we could link to the item and so on. There's environment variables that allow me to do that too. So I can go onto the expression builder. In the interest of time, I'm not going to do this, but I'll just explain how. So we can go through under the context objects, we can get to the current form, as well as the current site, the current page, etc. that we're on. So we can use that information in order to be able to create a link, and then also append to that the ID, the item ID, so it knows which item it's opening. We can also show the email before it's sent if we want to. That gives the child the ability to add a bit more to the body of the message. Otherwise, they can just leave it that it's fully automated like that. And the last thing we'll do is just show a message which will just allow the child to know that this was submitted. And we just have that display for a few seconds. And we'll say your Christmas wish list is sent to your parent for approval. Okay. And then we could close the form once we're done. So that's our submit button. And so that they can think over time, I'm just going to save or change this from save to save draft. So they don't have to submit it straight away. They can think over the period of the year as they do is what they want for the next Christmas, populate that, and then submit it when they're ready. A bit of a visual clue for parents is the number of gifts that they're requesting. So what we can do is go through and create a calculation in here. So in the properties for that number of gifts, we'll go into the calculated property. And in here, we've got the ability to use a template function, which is great for sort of concatenations of maybe first name and last name and so on. We have assignment where we can assign a value to the field, or we've also got the ability to create JavaScript functions and so on as well. Under assignment is where we're going to put our calculation, but all I'm going to do is actually expand the sublist section, go into my gift ideas, and in here we've got the gift title, which every gift is going to have. So I'm going to expand that and choose count. So we'll just get that count of the number of items that are related in the gift ideas list to this master list here. Okay, and one final thing, in fact, I just need to change. Let's just go back into our actions here. I want to set a form field value of the wish list ID. So I'm just going to use the word wish. This is going to be under template. So the word wish plus the child name be fine. We could use the ID if we want to, but this will make it obvious whether the child has completed multiple forms. And we need to save again after that. There we go. Okay, so this is ready for a test run. Let's save it. We'll save and close the form design. Okay, so we will hit new. Okay, you can see that's opened up full screen. I'm just going to refresh the cache here because I changed that to a large form, but not a full screen form. So let's hit new. So there's our large form. And in here, we'll put the child name. So we'll choose demo user 5, age 7, near rugby. We can choose the treat that is going to be left for Santa, the favorite reindeer, and in here we can add the gift ideas. So first one will be a football. We can put the value in there. Occasion is going to be Christmas. We could create a link to it and so on. Just going to bypass that for a moment, and you can see we've got our first item, and then we'll go through and create maybe some Lego and add that one. So once we've completed those forms, I can access the parent tab just because I am in that approvers group, but nobody else will be able to do that unless they are in the approvers group. So once we're done, we just hit that submit wish list. That's given me that success message. It will have also sent an email to brett@lightningtools.com. So that should just come in any moment now. And now I have it. So you can see here's the email saying I've created my wish list. Okay, so that's successful. The related items are here under the gift ideas. Now that I've done that, I'm going to export that form design out so we can actually import it into this edit form and the display form as well. Because currently, if I click onto that item, it's the default form, which we don't want. So we'll go back into Lightning Forms, edit the customization of the new form. And we're going to export that design. Let's again just save and close. And now we'll go in and edit at least the edit form. So I don't have to repeat all of those steps again. All we need to do is just import our design. And you'll notice in here that we can choose what we want to import. So I've chosen, let's not actually import the command bar actions because we only created one additional action button, and that was to submit the form, which you wouldn't do from the edit form. But what we can do is add further buttons and so on here, because what we need is actually an approval button for the parent to click so that they can actually approve this wish list and generate a document as well, which is going to be a letter to Santa. We're also going to do some conditional formatting in here as well and different styling. So we'll do that first of all. We'll click onto styles. Whilst I have got a red theme in here, you'll notice that the labels are black for each of the fields. So we can add generic styles to all of the controls of the same type. So when I expand the field section, we've got the label of those fields, which I'm going to change. So we'll change the label color to red from the theme. We could preview that, and you'll see that all the labels go red, and so on. And we get that orange rectangle illustrating that, yeah, that property was changed. We could also make that bold if we want to as well. Makes it stand out a bit more. So that's a little bit of styling. But what we're going to also do is add the conditional formatting, which we're going to add here on the behavior. So I can find the behavior field, which is here under the parent tab, add a style to that one. So we're going to make this a condition. So if the behavior is equal to good, and we can test that against any items that we've already created as well. So if the behavior is good, then what we could do is add a border around that field. So we'll go for a green border, and that just gives the indication that that is good behavior. And then we could of course do the same thing for bad behavior. I'm being a bit lazy here with the naming of these. We would want to go through and label those so we know what each of these are. So if this is bad behavior, then we'll have a red border. Okay, and we could apply that also to the tab as well, if we want to, so that yeah, the whole tab gets highlighted, giving more of a visual clue as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is add a button to approve this. So we'll create our approve wish list button. So I'm just going to have a checkbox, configure some actions. So we will save the form first of all. I'm going to set the field value of approved to yes. And we could send an email, but you've seen me do that already. I'm this time going to generate a document. And that document is going to be this one here. It's going to be a letter to Santa. And you'll notice that this is picking up certain fields from the underlying list. So it's using the programmatic name of the behavior, the treat for Santa, the favorite reindeer. I was doubting myself on that one. I may need to change that. I think I called it reindeer name. So that will fail. There we go. And we're also looping through the sublist, which I named gift ideas. We're grabbing the title field and we're grabbing the price field, and then we're ending the loop. So any related items are also going to be populated into this Word document, so we can send that to Santa. Okay, so we'll just save that. And in this generate document, we can upload the template. And let's just overwrite that. And we can tell it which item we want to open this up with. So I'm going to open that up with a single item from the wish list. We're going to use the item ID in order to be able to recognize the item that we're applying it to. And then we can choose our targets. We can either open up the document or we can save it to a library. And I'm going to save it to a library in the document library in a folder called Santa Letters. And then we're going to give it a dynamic file name of title.docx. If it already exists, we'll overwrite it as well. Okay, so we're saving the form, we're setting the field value. We then also need another save form after setting the field value. So I can just do that here. And then we will close the form. And so let's give that a go. We'll save and close this. So on the home page, we have the document library in question. You'll notice there's the Santa letters folder currently empty. So we'll go back to the child wish list. And let's now open this one up. Sorry, need to edit it. Okay, so we've got the wish list here. We can approve it. So hopefully that's done. We could have given some feedback as well on the screen that it has been successfully done. But let's go into Santa letters, and there we are. There's the letter to Santa. So I could open that in Word. And there we go. So we've got the whiskey left for Santa, favorite reindeer is Rudolph, and we've got the football and the Lego on the wish list coming from demo user 5. There we go. So the next thing we need to do is make sure that this gets to Santa. So what we're going to do is actually switch products again. We're going to now go into Lightning Tools Actions. So Lightning Tools Actions has undergone a rename. That's one of the announcements. So it was Lightning Tools List Actions. It's now Lightning Tools Actions. But what we can do, sorry, we just talked about document generator. What we can do with Lightning Tools Actions is add some automation to multiple list items, which could be all of the list items or selected list items or a list item within the list. And then we can fire off the different actions that we want to create. So with that, we're going to send the attachment of the document that was generated across to Santa so he can open it up and, of course, act on that wish list. So we'll go back into SharePoint. And you'll notice if we just create one more, let's create another child here called demo user 6. And we'll create a couple of gifts as well. So we'll have address. That one. And we'll also have some more Lego. We'll submit it. So that will create the item. We should have at least. Just go back to that list. Yep, so we've got the item, and I'm just going to go in and edit that one so that we can approve it. So that's now approved. So we should have the document for that one as well. But what I now want to do is email those documents to Santa. So what we're going to do is just go into, I've already created this. So you'll notice that when I select these two items, I've got send the letters as an action button. So before I click that, in fact, now let me just go ahead and click it and I'll explain it, because that takes a moment to send those emails. So they should be on the way. We will go into Lightning Tools Actions, and here's the send the letters action that we've created. So I'll go into the configure actions, and you just see we're just using the send email action. So it's going from the current user again. It's going to me, not Santa. The subject is Santa letter, and it says please see attached. And because we know the location of those documents, we've got the name of the site followed by the document library followed by the subfolder. and then title.docx, which is what we assigned it when we created the document, we've got everything we need in order to be able to reference that item and attach it to the email. So that should have been sent, and in a moment I'll get those emails and I'll be able to share them with you. Okay, before we do that, I just want to show you how we can also use the Lightning Tools actions now on a page, which is actually a new feature. So it's now actually become a web part. So you'll notice in here that we've got a button that says submit wish list. So as I click that, that takes me straight into that form that we've created, and now the child can fill it out and find that easily without having to navigate through the site contents or anything like that. So we'll just introduce some of the different changes that we've introduced in the product, and then we'll go through and show you how we can build out some of those action buttons as well. So first of all, some of the new features that we're pushing out, one of them is we now have support for content types, which I'm about to show you. We've also got application lifecycle management, so version control of our forms, and Lightning List Actions has now become Lightning Tools Actions because it's more than just list actions. We can now create the action buttons on the form, or sorry, on the page, as you've just seen, and therefore it's actually deployed as a web part. And then we've also got the Kudzu bot for the form migration, which you also just saw. So we'll have a look at those features. Let's just jump back into SharePoint here. So back into the child wish list, if we currently click onto the new button, you'll see that just takes me into the default content type. So what I'm going to do is just go into the list settings, and under the advanced settings, I'm going to allow the management of content types. And in here, you'll see that because I already added it previously when I was testing this, I've got the shopping list content type now also added to this SharePoint list. So this was just a case of, well, we could reuse this same thing for creating the shopping list as a parent. So now when we hit that new button, notice that I've got a new item that I can create, which is the original child wish list, but I could also create a shopping list as well. Now, the problem is with the shopping list having different fields in it, and we've just customized the form, those fields aren't displaying on the form. And in fact, we're getting an error message to say that some of these fields can't be found in order to be able to display on here because they're not inside the same content type. So we'll jump back, go back into Lightning Forms, edit the new form again. And what you'll see in here is we've now got, since we've enabled the management of content types, we've now got this content type drop down. So I can now choose the shopping list content type, which makes all the shopping list fields available to me. And notice that some of these are now saying they're missing. That's because they're not inside that content type. So we can just simply remove them off the form here. And I won't go through a whole bunch of changes, just again, in the interest of time. What we can do is now start to add columns that are coming from my shopping list. So I've got the shopping list category, which is food, beverage, or gifts. I've got the budget, and I've also got the total spend so far. So I can start to design that. We could remove this one as well. And maybe we can just rename our tab here to shopping. Okay, so if we save and close this form, if I hit new shopping list, notice that we've got the shopping form. Whereas if I choose new item, we've got the Christmas wish list. Okay, so we can work with multiple content types, something that we used to be able to do inside the classic lists, but we didn't carry that forward into the modern lists. So you now have that available. And we've also got the version management of Lightning Forms as well. So if I go into the new form, So on the new form, notice that we've got our versions here with the timestamp against each one. So every time I hit save and close, we're getting a new version. So if ever we get to the point where maybe we accidentally created a calculation that we can't get past because it's erroring, what I could do is revert back to a previous version of that form, load that, make that the current by just hitting save, and that becomes the later version of version 9, and we've now disregarded that version 8. So that just makes it a lot more, I guess, safe when you're working inside of a production environment and building out those lists. You can always revert back to previous versions just in case you do break something. Okay, so that's a couple of the changes to Lightning Forms. If we take a look at the Lightning Tools actions, you notice that I can now edit the page, and there's Lightning Tools actions as a web part. So all we need to do is go through and add the web part, and then you can start to add buttons within the web part. So we've already got the submit wish list on here. We could do all sorts of different things. We could maybe open up a website where you could track Santa. This isn't really available until Christmas Eve, but I don't know if there's anything like tracking. Not really. So we just choose an icon for that, configure our actions, and then we've got the open web page action that we can use. Now, this is kind of the equivalent of quick links, a web part that comes out of the box with SharePoint, but that's the only thing you can do with it is open up a web page or open up a link. What you'll notice here with Lightning Tools actions is you've got all of these other things. They can be conditional. You can reload pages. You can send emails. You can copy documents, upload documents, etc., etc. So there's lots of different things there that you could apply to a button that you're going to now embed on that form and run it from there. So in here, we could just obviously give the URL of what we want to open, maybe give a query string as well. Let's just cancel that one. And so there's the default button that we've got. But what we can do is go into the properties here and change the different style of those buttons that we want to work with. So there's lots of different styles to choose from, as well as the ability to get back into the properties for each of those different actions as well. And notice you've still got the visible expressions and the enabled expressions that you can also work with at that point. Okay, I'm just going to check my email, and they didn't yet arrive. So let me open one from last night, because we did this for the APAC region last night. With the attachment, it can take 5 minutes or so to send it, but you can see in here, there's the Santa letter directed to me with the document, so we can open that up and view the document within there as the attachment. All right, and that brings us to the Q&A section. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully you've seen what you can do with Lightning Forms, with Kudzu, with Lightning Tools actions, and also with the document generator. I see there's been a few questions as we've gone through, but it looks like Sandy's answered those. So if anybody does have a question now, now's your chance to ask it. You can either ask it in the chat window, in the Q&A window, or if you want to raise your hand, you can come off mute as well. I can unmute you and you can ask it verbally. All right, I'm not seeing any questions or any typing of questions at the moment. Thank you. Just a bit of feedback. So thank you very much. Glad you appreciate the demo and although it was a light-hearted one. Hopefully you've seen the what can be done with these products. Thank you, Elaine. Okay, I think there is a question being typed at the moment, so I'm just going to hang on a moment. But also just to point out that if there is any questions that come up, feel free to reach out to us as well. So you can reach me on brett@lightningtools.com. I'd be very happy to answer your questions. There has been a couple of questions in there about whether you can rewatch it. And yeah, there is a lot to take in, I know. So yeah, the webinar is recorded. It will be appearing on our website and on our YouTube channel this evening, so you'll be able to watch that back and share it with other people and so on if you want to. But yeah, if there is any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. And on that note, I will wish you a very happy Christmas and hopefully catch you on a webinar in the new year. All right, so thank you very much, everybody.